Okay, this is going to try and get through some of the pre-creasing necessary for doing the Guitarist from Paper and Harmony. First thing I like to do is do all the vertical folds, and while all these folds will at one point or another be reversed, I like to do it in the order necessary to fold this part of it. So I start that off by folding the bill in half this way, and then when I open it, I fold these sections in like this, then I open it up and I fold this, pulling this flap out this way, pulling this flap out, and then folding these flaps in, and that gives me the folding necessary that follows the direction on this section of the bill. Now, pre-creasing this part down here really is fairly straightforward. So the first thing I'll be doing is folding this crease and this crease. So doing that is fairly easy, and these are mountain folds. So I will flip the bill over and just fold like this, creasing only to this vertical crease, not all the way to the center, and doing the same thing on this side. Actually, I lied. I usually do go all the way to the center, even though it's not shown here, and I'll explain that in a second. Because that point created, which would be right here if it were to have extended, gives me the ability to form this crease here and this crease here, because this top crease here is actually the center crease if these went all the way to the top here. And since that is a mountain fold, I can turn this bill over and fold it up to the point that would exist here that I've put into the folds. That way I can fold this down, and I can then fold it up like this, creating these three folds here. This one here, that one there, and that one there. Unfolding it. And then these diagonal folds here can be pretty much ignored if you want, because they are fairly easy to fold within the model itself. This crease here is the easiest one because it's simply folding the bill in half. Now, folding these creases here requires a little bit of persuasion, and you can do that the way I do that actually is fold just this last flap up like this right here, because the squares here are even with the squares here, leaving this entire middle section here, this section here, and this section here actually larger than the squares. So in order to make this fold here, which starts one square in, I fold this bottom square up, and then I fold the bill in half. Now, as these folds here, which we're now going to do, are mountain folds and require a 1 square distance, I can flip this over and I can fold this back even with this fold, like that. And that gives me that 1 square. And then, when I want to make this mountain fold, I go to this corner and I fold like this, with this edge along that edge, going all the way to the center here. Same thing on the other side, bringing this down to this corner. I have now created these creases with that 1 square distance. And then it's relatively easy to make these folds here along the same lines, because all I have to do is take this folded edge, find that corner spot there, I'm holding the bill upside down, according to that, find that corner spot here, and just fold this bill there, and that will create that crease right there. Then I can fold this up, flip it over, and fold this to that center crease again, and that will give me those creases there that I just marked out. Now this crease here is not so important to do in a pre-creasing because it's fairly easy to do. Although with the bill the way it is, it's actually pretty easy to do that if you really wanted to. You could just fold it up and do the crease if you wanted to, because it's pretty much already creased. Now these diagonal creases here are a little bit trickier. What we need to do first, of course, is give us one more square. But if the bill is already, this is this part right here, if the bill is already scrunched like this, it's quite easy to get yourself another square by just folding along and folding, just fan folding like that. And that will give you the distance there. And then if you need to get all these, which you do, you pleat the bill like we had in the original pleating step, counting down the number of squares, which in this case we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On the 7th square down is where we want the creases to be. So we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is the square that we want it to be. I don't think you can see the creases on. And then it's quite simply a matter of making sure that the bill is oriented correctly. I want the crease to go from this point here this way. So I need the crease to go, so as I fold it, I need the crease to go from this point here down to this way. And so I merely take the entire model and I fold it like this, giving it as tight as I can. So when I open up the model, I have the diagonals. Now they will need a little bit of encouragement. Now if you can see this bill closely, you'll notice I have an X. It's because when I first did it, I folded it the wrong way. So you need to keep an eye on that. And so then you fold this in like this, and then this will fold up on those diagonal creases. This part is not as easy as my pre-crease model makes it look, but that's what happens. Noticing that for this section right in here, all these vertical creases become reversed, where the mountains become valleys, and then they reverse back again for this section. So that's that part, which is the most fiddly to deal with. This one, if you've done any of the flower or other pleat folding models, is quite easy. And then once you get to this point, these diagonals are formed only by pushing this up like inside the model like so, forming that point, and then that will form these diamond creases. So this is not necessarily a pre-creasing. And then this top part, you have this top flap of one square that comes down. Actually the top flap of two squares that come down like this. And then it pleat folds as well until you get to this point right here. And then this wonderful side crease right here, which you really don't need to pre-fold because all you do is flatten like this, and that will then put that crease in there. But that crease is there if you follow the methodology that I did. Anyways, so that will give you this wonderful starting.